Welcome, curious minds, to another deep dive. Today, we're tackling a really fascinating ancient text, the Potaliyasuttaṃ. It explores a surprising conversation about what it really means to give something up. Imagine someone wealthy, looks like they've renounced everything, but then gets deeply offended just by being called a householder. That's kind of where our story kicks off today. And our mission really is to unpack these two, well, quite different ideas about cutting off transactions and figure out what true freedom from attachment might actually look like. So the scene opens, very picturesque, a tranquil forest grove in Anguttharapa. The Bhagavan, the Buddha, he's just taking a midday rest after his alms round, quiet time. And then enter Potaliya. The text makes a point of describing him well-dressed with an umbrella and shoes. So immediately, this tells you he's a man of status, of means. He comes up to the Bhagavan, they exchange some pleasantries, and he stands respectfully to one side.
And what's really striking is that very first interaction. It seems so simple. The Bhagavan just offers Potaliya a seat, calling him householder. Just, a basic courtesy.
But Potaliya's reaction, it's anything but simple, right? He gets properly upset, deeply displeased, angry even. Repeats it 3 times. The ascetic Gautama calls me householder. This is unbefitting. This is not proper. What's really bubbling under the surface there, do you think?
Well, that strong reaction, it immediately signals something crucial for us, doesn't it? It shows that real renunciation isn't just about getting rid of external things. It's about the internal stuff, your perception of yourself, your status, what you identify with. The Bhagavan just calmly points out that, well, Potaliya's appearance, his actions, they're those of a householder, externally speaking. It highlights this fundamental gap in how they're seeing the same situation.
Okay, so Potaliya feels misunderstood. He feels mislabeled. And then he explains his version, his definition of cutting off all business and cutting off all transactions. He says, look, I've given all my wealth away, money, grain, silver, gold. It's all gone to my sons. That's their inheritance now. He says he just lives simply, only for food and clothing, doesn't get involved in their affairs, doesn't advise or scold them. So from his point of view, he really has given it all up.
Right, and this immediately brings up that key question for us and for Potaliya. Is giving up the external stuff, the possessions, the same as true renunciation? The Bhagavan clearly suggests, no, not quite. He states very plainly that Potaliya's definition of cutting off transactions is quite different from the one taught in the noble discipline.
And Potaliya, he's obviously not satisfied with his own definition anymore, is he? He wants to know more. He asks for that deeper understanding.
Yeah.
So what is the noble discipline's definition? Where does the Bhagavan start explaining?
Okay, so the Bhagavan first offers these 8 principles. Think of them as the ethical foundation for really cutting off transactions. He lists them out quite methodically. It's about abandoning negative actions based on cultivating the positive opposite. So number 1, based on not taking life is abandoned. 2, based on taking only what's given, taking what's not given is abandoned. 3, based on truthful speech, false speech is abandoned. 4, based on non-malicious speech, malicious speech is abandoned. 5, based on non-covetousness, greed is abandoned. 6, based on not finding fault or blame is abandoned. 7, based on not having anger or resentment, anger and resentment are abandoned. And 8, based on non-conceit, non-pride, conceit and pride are abandoned.
Okay, so those are the 8 points. But Potaliya, being Potaliya perhaps, wants more detail, right? He asks for a deeper explanation. And the Bhagavan then explains the how, the internal process behind this.
Exactly. It's not just a list of rules. For each one, the process is deeply internal. It's about self-reflection. A nodal disciple, the text says, reflects like this. Because of what internal fetters, these kind of mental chains or obstacles, would I even do this negative thing? And I'm committed, I'm dedicated to abandoning those specific fetters. And that reflection goes further. If I actually did this negative thing, I'd blame myself. Wise people would criticize me. And, after death, a bad outcome is expected.
So it's really about seeing the internal drivers, those chains. It's not just about stopping the outward action. How does the text talk about these fetters? What's the effect of dealing with them?
Yeah, the text is quite specific. It says the negative quality itself, like anger or lying, is a fetter. It's an obstacle in your mind. And for the person who abstains, who works on abandoning that fetter, then certain pains, vexations, and fevers, basically mental suffering, they just don't arise. It's presented as a very direct, practical cause and effect thing for achieving inner peace. You remove the cause, the suffering doesn't appear.
Right, that makes sense. But here's where it gets really interesting, isn't it? Because even after laying out these 8 profound ethical principles, this whole internal reflection process, the Bhagavan says, well, this still isn't the complete cutting off of transactions in the noble discipline. There's more.
Exactly. This is where the teaching takes a significant turn, goes deeper. The Bhagavan moves from that ethical groundwork to the, let's say, the more psychological core of the issue. He explains that the ultimate cutting off of transactions involves freeing yourself from attachment to sensual pleasures. The Pāli word is kama. And to really make Potaliya understand this, he doesn't just state it abstractly. He uses these 7 incredibly powerful similes. Each one is designed to show the suffering, the stress, the vexation, and just the inherent danger in clinging to desires.
And these similes, they're amazing, so vivid even thousands of years later. They really land, don't they?
They absolutely do. Let's quickly go through them. First, the dog and the bare bone. A starving dog gnawing on a bone with almost no meat left. It gets no real satisfaction, just exhaustion and frustration. It shows how chasing sensual pleasures often gives only fleeting, illusory satisfaction, leading to more struggle, more wanting.
Yeah, you can picture that poor dog. Okay, what's next?
Second, the vulture and the piece of meat. A bird carrying meat gets attacked by other birds trying to snatch it. If it doesn't drop the meat, it risks injury or even death. This highlights how clinging to desires makes us vulnerable. It invites conflict, both externally with others and internally within ourselves.
Like holding on to something that attracts trouble. Makes sense. The third one.
Third, the blazing grass torch. Someone walking against the wind carrying a burning torch made of grass. If they don't drop it quickly, they'll get burned. It's a very direct image. Sensual pleasures, if pursued recklessly or clung to, can cause immediate harm.
Ouch. Yeah, very direct. Number 4.
Fourth, the pit of burning coals. Described as deep, glowing, but smokeless, maybe even more treacherous, because it looks less obviously dangerous from afar. Anyone who loves life, the text says, would instinctively recoil, knowing it leads to death or terrible suffering. It powerfully conveys the inherent danger, the ultimately destructive nature of unchecked desire.
That's a strong one, like a hidden danger that seems appealing but is actually lethal. What about the 5th?
Fifth, the dream. You see wonderful, beautiful things in a dream palace's gardens, treasures. But you wake up and poof, nothing's there. Sensual pleasures are like that. They're transient, impermanent, ultimately unsatisfying. They don't offer any lasting reality or deep fulfillment.
The classic dream analogy. Okay, number 6.
Sixth, the borrowed goods. Imagine borrowing beautiful ornaments, fancy clothes, maybe even a chariot. You get to enjoy them for a while, feel good. But the real owners can ask for them back at any time. They aren't truly yours. Sensual pleasures are like that temporary loans. Our enjoyment is precarious.
Ah, that feeling of insecurity and knowing it's not really yours to keep. And the last one, number 7.
Seventh, the fruit tree. This one's interesting. There's a tree laden with fruit. One person needs the fruit and climbs the tree to get it, but another person comes along also wanting the fruit, but instead of climbing, they take an axe and start cutting the tree down at the root. The person up in the tree, if they don't get down fast, risks terrible injury or death when the tree falls. It highlights the unforeseen dangers in pursuing desires, especially when resources are limited or others are competing for the same things, sometimes ruthlessly.
Wow. Those are really something. That last one particularly, the danger coming from an unexpected direction because of someone else's actions. So running through all those similes, that dog with the bone, the vulture, the torch, the coal pit, the dream, the borrowed goods, the fruit tree, what's the big takeaway? What's the point the Bhagavan is driving at?
The core message, repeated after each simile, is to see sensual pleasures in this way. To see them as full of suffering, full of vexation, full of danger. And based on that clear seeing, the goal is to cultivate what the text calls anuttara upikansata parisuttis, supreme equanimity purified by mindfulness. It's not a numb indifference, but a profound, balanced, clear-minded state that isn't shaken by the pull of desire because it understands its true nature.
Supreme equanimity purified by mindfulness. Okay. And if someone cultivates that state, what happens then? What's the ultimate result, according to the sutta?
Well, the text describes some pretty profound outcomes. Through this state, a noble disciple gains certain abilities. They can recollect countless past lives. They develop the divine eye, the ability to see beings passing away and reappearing according to their karma, their actions. And most importantly, by destroying the mental taints or defilements, they realize liberation, nibbana, right here and now in this very life. That is presented as the ultimate cutting off of transactions. It's a total inner freedom.
Okay, wow, so that's the full picture, a much deeper level than just giving away possessions. So after laying all this out, the eight principles, the seven similes, this ultimate goal of equanimity and liberation, the Bhagavan turns back to Potaliya. And he asks him essentially, well, Potaliya, do you find this kind of complete cutting off of transactions within yourself? What does Potaliya say now? Is he still defensive?
No, not at all. His response this time is completely different. It's incredibly humble, very honest. He basically says, good Gautama, who am I compared to this teaching on the complete cutting off of transactions? I am far, far away from it.
Yeah.
It's clearly a moment of profound realization for him. No more pride, just a clear seeing of his own situation in light of this deeper teaching.
And then he makes that really striking confession, doesn't he, about how he misjudged people before.
He does. It's quite moving. He admits that previously he mistook certain wanderers who were not actually noble or wise for being the real deal. He gave them respect, high status, the best food. And conversely, he admits he dismissed or even mistreated genuine monastics, considering them somehow non-noble or inferior.
It's so easy to see ourselves in that, isn't it?
Yeah.
Judging by appearances, getting caught up in status, thinking we know who's genuinely wise or advanced when maybe we don't.
Exactly. It shows his earlier version of cutting off wasn't just incomplete, it was based on flawed judgment, on misperceptions. He now sees that the Bhagavan's teaching has totally shifted his perspective. It's instilled in him, as he says, love, confidence, and genuine respect for true monastics for the path.
It's a complete turnaround. He uses that beautiful praise for the teaching, comparing it to, what was it?
Writing what was overturned, revealing what was hidden, showing the path to someone who's lost, holding up a lamp in the darkness so those with eyes can see. It's classic, beautiful imagery for the effect of the Dhamma.
Lovely. And how does it end for Potaliya?
He formally takes refuge. He declares, I go for refuge to the Bhagavan, to Dhamma, the teaching, and to the Saṅgha, the monastic community. And he asks to be remembered as a lay follower who has gone for refuge for life. It marks this genuine shift, this embrace of the noble discipline, moving way beyond his initial superficial understanding.
What a journey for him, just in that one conversation. From offended pride to humble acceptance and refuge. So reflecting on this deep dive, it really shows us that giving up or renunciation, it's so much more than just, emptying your bank account or stepping back from responsibilities.
Absolutely. It's about a profound inner transformation. It's about releasing the internal attachments, the desires and identifications that promise happiness, but, as the similes show, often just deliver suffering and stress.
Yeah, it really encourages us to look beyond the surface, beyond just the external actions, doesn't it?
It does. Look at the internal motivations, the mental habits, the consequences of our clinging. It's a powerful lesson in telling the difference between what looks like freedom and what truly is freedom.
So thinking about all this, what really stands out to you listening? Maybe it's Potaliya's initial defensiveness, that feeling of being misjudged. Or perhaps one of those vivid similes really resonated. It definitely raises a question for all of us, I think. In our own lives, what are the transactions we think we've cut off? Where do we believe we've let go? Only to find, if we're honest, that we're still entangled, still clinging, maybe subtly, to some desire, some identity, like that dog with the bare bone or enjoying those borrowed goods.
That's the crucial self-reflection, isn't it? And building on that, the next question is, how can we start to cultivate even a little bit of that supreme equanimity purified by mindfulness? How can we begin to see our attachments more clearly for what they really are, so we can move towards a deeper, more authentic and lasting sense of liberation in our own lives?
Lots to think about there. Keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.